Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's the Sheffield Wednesday 0, Leeds United 2 match review the day after with myself, Stephen Brown, and also Jason Booker. Welcome along, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
Guys, if you're watching along, please do smash a like on the video. Get your comments and thoughts in on last night's match whilst we get into it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Well then, Mr. Booker, it was a good night in Sheffield in South Yorkshire for the Whites. It was a game that I think you and I were both a bit nervous for. I think earlier in the week with obviously the amount of games that we've had to play recently, certain players looking a bit leggy, maybe some carrying injuries. We didn't really know what we were going to expect with the team. Obviously, it was a very difficult match the other night against Stoke as well. A pretty, certainly second half was very tricky. But we got the job done again, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to go over some ground. Like I made a few points in the WhatsApp group yesterday, and I've made a few points on social media and between me and you chatting. I think this is what we're going to see a lot of between now and the end of the season. You know, all these teams have a lot to fight for, a lot to play for, and we can't be perfect all the time. You know, and right now, what we've done is we've created a foundation where we're built on a solid defence. Then I was looking just before coming on. We've obviously won 11 out of the last 12 with one draw in that run. We've conceded 3 goals, and all 3 goals were from set pieces. We've not conceded a goal from open play in 2024. We've not conceded a goal from open play with Ethan Ampadu and Joe Rodon as the 2 centre-backs. We just need to relax. Yeah. You know, we're so quick. Like, we see 10 minutes of a game and we're like, oh, this is terrible. The team's bad. Like, this was the wrong choice by Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke's got it wrong tonight. And we'll come on to the starting lineup and I have my opinions on it as well. But we just need to relax. Like, we're playing away at Sheffield Wednesday, who have won 4 on the bounce. You know, we're going into their backyard, the Boyd under the lights. Like, what do we think's going to happen? Do we think that we're going to turn up with Leeds United? We're recently relegated. We just turn up and we blast either way. No, it's just not the way that it works. And for me, last night, I thought it was a good performance. I thought it was we stayed in the game when we needed to. We defended extremely well for most of it. We relied on his keeper for one really, really good save, which you should do from time to time. Like, a keeper should be able to keep you in the game at times. My complaint about Melia previously, certainly last season, was that he never kept us in their moments. That's what he's there to do. That's his job, to quote Roy Keane. You know, like, in the moments where we're not really fully at it and the team are not full swinging, he's there to do that. So, and then second half, you know, obviously we get, not to jump around too much, but we get the goal. We come out second half and absolutely dominate the game. We absolutely dominated the second half. Grueb and Kamara got it together. You know, we bossed them defensively. We get a second goal. What more do we want? Like, I don't know what else to say, really. Like,
for full disclosure, I can back Jason up there. He was on the WhatsApp saying those exact same things. I hold my hands up. I was getting more concerned as that first half went on, and I may have slipped on the WhatsApp group like, what is going on? Because for me, I was a bit worried with that opening 30 minutes. I think it's one of those things when I was watching it, because you have that fear that, oh God, it's going to be a bad result. We're going to lose ground in the, all those kind of things, PTSD from previous Leeds teams in the past. I did get a bit anxious with it. I didn't tweet, thank God. I didn't put anything like that for posterity or anything like that. But I was a little bit kind of underwhelmed with it. I thought we were a bit slow, a bit sluggish. I thought we didn't control midfield. But I think it doesn't really matter, because I think when you look at the overall picture, and like you say, you're going against a team that have just won 4 on the trot and they're fighting for their lives, and we've basically reduced them to next to nothing. And there's going to be a bit of back and forth in a game, obviously.
The problem is, overall, the bar is so high in it. That's the problem. Yeah. Because one slip up,
that's the problem.
Result, and you end up back in third or whatever. Like,
we've drawn one game and we slipped to third. I mean, one game where we haven't won in 12 games and we slipped to third.
That's because we had such ground to make up, though. You know, we sit there today going into the round of games to play today, 2 points behind Leicester. and 1 point in front of Ipswich. Whereas at the start of 2024, we wouldn't have dreamt to have that position.
No,
so, yeah, it's frustrating that we have 1 draw in 12 and find ourselves, well, now second with a game with these guys with a game to play. But we just need, like, for me, this is why I keep on banging on. It's not a like I told you so kind of thing.
No.
We just need to remember that this is what the Championship's like. I'm like, this isn't a shot at you, because I think
No.
I think what your position to it is just very much a case of wanting Leeds to do well and win games. Like what I see in a lot of on social media is a complete like kind of distaste and not neglect, the kind of like almost like we're too good for this. Like,
it's like really, taking it for granted, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like it's ridiculous.
They've just forgotten what the Championship was like. Even during the Bielsa days, especially in the running on the promotion season, it was like this. It was exactly like this. You know, on games week in, week out. This is their cup final. It is like not just for the local derby teams. You know, for the teams that are in and around, like Middlesbrough. Take Middlesbrough as an example. When we go up and play up there, they're playing, you know, pretty terribly recently. When we go up and play Middlesbrough at their place, they'll be all over it. Our Leeds are here. We can't wait. Like, can we ruin their promotion? You know, hopes? And that's what the players are having to contend with. And the facts are is the wheeling out. Top performance after top performance after top performance, clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. Sometimes the performance isn't perfect for 90 minutes, but whereas earlier on in the season when we weren't playing perfectly for 90 minutes and we weren't winning games, we now are winning games. Yeah. When we were back then, and we you know, I remember us talking after Stoke away and some of the other fixtures where we dropped points, we were crying out for winning on them days where we weren't fully at it. Now we're doing it. So what are we mourning about? Like, I just don't get it as a fan base. So
I totally agree. I can't believe some of the negativity that I've read on social. I mean, I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, you know, obviously last night, you know, first 30 minutes I wasn't overly impressed with, but that's in the heat of the moment when you're watching the game. I can't believe anyone after it would kind of be concerned. And certainly in the build up to the week, I mean, there's been some wild takes on Bamford, for example, that I can't head and tail of. Really don't make sense to me. We'll get into that later because I thought again it was a tremendous performance from Bamford. So yeah, it's kind of strange. I think you're absolutely right. We've just got to try and enjoy this as much as possible, and you know that's a real shot out last night because I'm sure Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, when we did drop points against Huddersfield, maybe they thought, oh, that's it. They're at the end of their streak, you know, maybe they'll start to drop some points going forward. Then to bounce back with 2 back-to-back wins in 6 days. I mean, that's incredible, really.
On the back of the Chelsea game as well, because bear in mind that took the legs for, you know, a lot out of the legs. You know, to get 7 points out of these 3 games, 2 of them being away from home, I think it's a good result. Like, sure, Huddersfield, Stoke and Sheffield Wednesday are all down towards the bottom, but they've all shown the ability to be able to get results against teams much higher up in the leagues. And they're all fighting for their lives. You know, it means a lot to them at this stage of the season. So I'm delighted. I was really, really happy with yesterday's performance. Sure, there's certain parts of the first half that I weren't happy with. I thought we were too slow and we were a little bit cumbersome at times, a little bit sloppy. But then they got it together. And the best chances from the half came from our build-up and our moments, our bits of quality. And then I thought second half, we absolutely dominated the game. I didn't think they had a sniff second half, to be honest.
No, absolutely. CB, some of our fans are like sport brats. They get really toxic. I've even seen someone in Fark out, which should be
wild, man. It's unreal.
If you're not liked the video already, please do smash a like on it and get your comments in. Let's kind of rewind then to the start of the game, the lineup. I think this is where eyebrows were certainly raised. I think we both expressed kind of raised eyebrows in our WhatsApp group about this. And for me, I was really surprised Dan James didn't start consecutive games. I mean, it's never disappointing to see Archie Gray obviously play, but I thought Connor Roberts was excellent at right back the other night against Stoke. Obviously kept Gruev and Kamara in the middle after a tough battle against Stoke. So there were a couple of things with that starting lineup, weren't there, Jason, where you kind of thought, not too sure what we're going to get here. Is this the right thing to do? Obviously, it's been proved it was, but at the time, I mean, were you a little bit kind of shocked at what you saw in that lineup?
Yeah, I mean, for me, regardless of the result, and I know that Ngannou ended up scoring, I think we'd have had a better day right from word go if Dan James had been playing at right mid. I think he'd have caused them absolute nightmares down that side. I think he deserved to keep his place. But maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they were a knock. Maybe we were tired after the other night. Maybe 3-day turnaround on the back of him coming back into fitness. Maybe there were reasons around it. And Ngannou grew into the game, played played better second half. But I still don't think that takes away from the fact that I'd have rather James had started there. I agree with you. I thought Connor Roberts should have started at right back. I'd have probably started Archie at centre midfield over Kamara on the day. I'm not saying that that's what I would do week in, week out. I just think he didn't have a pre-season, didn't Kamara? And I think you're starting to see that a little bit. I think you're starting to see it in his legs a little bit. But again, we've said this before, like on the back of a win where Daniel Farke's been proven right, you can't really complain too much. I thought some of the fans' takes on Matteo Joseph starting this game were absolutely wild. He was excellent against Stoke. He was my man of the match. And I thought it was excellent again last night. I mean, both goals are down to Pat. He scores the first one and then makes the second one. There isn't another player within our squad that makes that back into the defender, touch round the corner to Gio for Gio to then lay on. There isn't, and you can stand and say to me, "Oh, Joseph could do that." Not in the same way, because that centre back were massive. It were a monster that Pat were up against, and he moved him around, pushed him around all night. I thought Pat were really, really good again yesterday. I don't know what people. Again, we're back to this, and Matteo Joseph is not a Ryan Edmondson. I'm not trying to put him in that bracket, and he will, I think, probably end up being the direct replacement for Pat. I hope he will. He's developing really, really well. He's brought so much more into his game that we've seen this season, taking some of it from what Pat does and what Daniel Farke obviously wants as a number 9 in this system. For me, he's definitely the second in line to that spot in front of Pirot, in front of Gio for me. But there isn't anybody that, when fully fit, does that job anywhere near as good as Pat. He's almost the first name on the team sheet. He's so important to the way that we play. And yeah, I just coming back to the Ryan Edmondson thing, it's simply just he's a youngster, it's exciting, put him up front. Like, it's not the solution you think it is.
No, I mean, I can't believe it, because in probably the previous 2 seasons, the 2 campaigns where Leeds struggled, I thought Pat Bamford was pretty terrible in both those seasons. I thought he wasn't doing the things that we see him doing
just
now.
Weren't fit.
He weren't fit. No, well, this is the thing. He wasn't fit. His touch wasn't there. You could just see there was no sharpness to his game at all. I think since he's come back into the team this season, since that FA Cup game, he's been absolutely superb. And you can tell with Pat as well, because the first touch is there. I mean, that last
finishing a chance on his right foot, Browney.
Yeah. I mean, exactly, yeah.
He'd never do that.
Never do that. That setup for the second goal where he takes it, and that for me was just a touch of class. Yeah. And I just think, why on earth would you want that version of Pat Bamford sat on the bench? I don't understand it. I think Joseph is excellent. I think he's a really exciting prospect. He scored 2 goals against Chelsea. We know that, but I think he's a great option for 65th minute coming on for Pat, 70th minute coming on for Pat. And I think he is absolutely, if Pat is injured or out, shouldn't be Pirot. It should be absolutely Joseph. I do really think that. And I think, credit to Joseph, he's massively, massively improved. Like, all right, I didn't watch him week in and week out in the under-23s, but when you used to see him in cameos before, he didn't put himself about like he is doing now. Now, when he's aggressive and
he's grown as well.
He's grown, yeah, absolutely. So he's a fantastic option. But for me, Bamford is playing out of his skin, and like you say, that system works when he's there. I mean, this run started with him coming into the team. This run started with him coming into the team. Gruev coming in. It was huge. Pat Bamford coming back and coming to this.
I think it's essential, mate.
To drop him, I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely essential. He makes everybody around him better as well. He gives more space with his movement to the likes of Somerville, Nonto, James, and more importantly, Rutter. When Pat's playing in front of Rutter has so much more space in that 10 to work with. I mean, I remember talking to you last year about Pat's injuries and, kind of comparing it with the injuries that I've had. And the fact is you carry your body so much differently when you've been suffering with injuries. You're not confident in your first touch, even your running steps kind of get compromised because you're worried, am I going to get injured? Am I going to twist that? Now, obviously, as a professional athlete, I didn't think we would ever see this version of Pat Bamford back again. No. I didn't. I thought it was gone. And that's no fault of his. That's the fault of the injuries. No, but he's rebuilt himself. And he also hasn't had to deal earlier on this season with being the pressure of the only number 9. He's had that for years. We said 3 seasons ago, after the first season in the Premier League, we desperately need another 9, just in case Pat's out. And we didn't. When we Dan James, it cost Bielsa his job, I would argue. Because if we had, and Dan James did his best that he could, but he's not a 9. He's not a finisher. If we'd have had another, replacement for Pat that could have done that job to some effect while he was out, who knows where we'd be now? Because the number 9 in a system is so important. It's so important. So, I think all that together this season, with him now being back fully fit and fully confident, he looks great, mate, and he looks part of the squad again. You know?
Mentally as well, to come back from the penalty misses. I mean, he missed 3 penalties on the trot for Leeds, 3 key penalties. To come back from that mentally as well and refocus. And I mean, it's just, for me, it's one of the stories of the season is the fact that Bamford's had this redemption. I absolutely love it. Like you say, he looks happy, he's smiling, he's part of it, so... Yeah, it's great to see Gregory here. I think Bamford looks like he's more physically strong now. Yeah, he just looks fit, doesn't he? He just looks fit, that he's back to his best. Just getting back to the Gnonto and James thing as well, because I thought it's really interesting because they're kind of totally different wingers, aren't they? I think with Gnonto, you get that kind of interlinking play, like the setup for the pass for Somerville, for example. I don't think James does that in a million years.
You're right.
But I agree with you. I would have thought James would have caused havoc for them last night. And I thought Willie really struggled that first half. Really struggled.
Yeah, he did. He's just not... I've said this before, and I'm kind of sick of hearing myself say it. But at this level, the defenders are able to deal with what Gnonto brings so much easier because they're not overthinking it. They just get tight. And because Gnonto's a little bit slower than James... and less direct, it makes him less effective, especially on the right, because when he's cutting in, he's on his left foot, and Gnonto doesn't have a left foot. He's really, really one-footed. So it just makes him really ineffective, whereas Dan James, because he's so direct, because his movements are so almost in straight lines all the time, he's so quick, he just scares defenders to death. I always think with Dan James on the pitch, starting a game, in the first half, he's going to either get an assist or get a goal. I just feel like it all the time. Give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball. And then what happens is Somerville gets depended on less, which then gives him more space to work with and more time on the ball when he does get the ball. Whereas I feel like when Gnonto's on the pitch, we shepherd it to Somerville a lot more. Yeah. You find Somerville will start drifting inside into the 10 space, which then crowds out Rutter's area of the pitch. So I just don't think it works as well. In the Premier League, I'm completely happy to hear somebody's argument to say that Gnonto will probably be the better Premier League player. But right now, for what we need now, I just feel like James is so much more effective.
I wonder what James is thinking as well, because obviously he was, he scored against Stoke, and his input has been fantastic. And then to kind of get dropped again, it feels to me like Farker ultimately does prefer Gnonto, possibly.
I don't know. Bear in mind how much he's trusted James this season. And if it weren't for James's injury, I don't think we'd have even seen Gnonto have this run that he's had in January and into February. So and he also came back in on Tuesday after Gnonto didn't play particularly well against Town. So I think it's just a squad game. I think, James has come back in after an injury, and then this game was Tuesday, Friday. I would probably think it was that, because everything that I've seen from James and Farker is that they absolutely love each other. Daniel James on several interviews, I don't know if you saw the one with the Welsh boys the other day in Top Hatch, he was very clear that, he's got a manager that believes in him and really rates him. So I wouldn't read too much into it personally. I think we're as likely to see James on Sunday as we are to see Gnonto, I think.
Yeah.
Just I can see a couple of comments about Pirro in the chat. Invisible elephant in the room is Pirro. Nobody mentions him now. And Mark, thanks for your comment. When we go up, we need to loan Pirro out back to the Championship to assist in defining his position. He has quality and good feet, but lacks the killer instinct. Obviously, he got just a few minutes last night. We're not going to dwell on it too long. I mean, it'll be interesting. A bit of not a dilemma, but it'll be interesting to see what we do with Pirro in the summer.
Just coming onto Pirro in general, like he's still got a part to play, and he'll play a big part in this squad. And I think if there's injuries to 9 or 10 position, he probably comes back in and starts. I don't think Danny Fack has lost complete trust in him, but it just don't fit the system. He still offers us, I think, a lot in front of goal, but it's just getting him into them positions. If and when we do get promoted, for me, Pirro will never be a Premier League 9 or 10 in a Leeds United system. I don't see him ever really playing Premier League football with what he's currently shown us. I think he's too reliant on them moments in the box, and you need a little bit more from a Premier League number 9. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, and I don't even think it means he were a bad signing. I think we needed a marquee signing. We needed, as I said earlier, the player to take the pressure off Pat, and it did that for the first half of the season. Some people have said, well, oh God, as if we waited to play Pat in the 9 and Gio in the 10 until halfway. I get that. However, what I will say to that is maybe that built Pat into being able to be the player that we've seen in 2024. Can you imagine if we'd have relied on Pat from day one and he'd have broken down? Like, who knows, So I think Pirro at 10, 50 million quid or whatever we paid, it was pricey, but I think we'd still recoup most of that next season to a Burnley or a Sheffield United who are going to need another top player. So I'm not too concerned about it. I just don't see him playing games for us in the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. As Stripper says here, 11 goals, not fitting the system isn't so bad. Yeah, so definitely been contribution there from Pirro. So Jason, that first half then against Sheffield Wednesday last night, and it was a bit tentative. I thought it was a bit slow, but I mean, it's one of those where we dominated possession still. You're trying to figure out the ebb and flow of the game. Their crowd's up for it. I think they've had their biggest attendance of the season last night. Shock horror. Yeah, can you imagine? And then I feel from probably about 35 minutes, we just kind of went up a gear and suddenly it kind of speeded up a little bit, knocking the ball around. And then Mr. Junior Firpo with a fantastic assist for the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think, we've seen this all the way through the season that teams start well against us and we ultimately will normally defend well, keep them out, build into the game, and then we'll eventually start taking over. That tends to be the pattern of our games, especially away from home. I remember the Millwall game earlier on in the season. We had the exact same conversation as what you just said then. A bit concerned about the way that the game started. They dominated the first 15, 20 minutes or whatever, and then we're building the game and win 3-0. Like, it's part of the way that the game goes. We take the legs out of them. We keep possession when we're in control of the ball, and we work for key moments which basically cut them open. And we need to be earlier on in the season, we needed to be more clinical. We still need to be more clinical now, but we're winning 2-3-0 or 3-1 or whatever on the regular. We are so good defensively now that it almost doesn't matter how well we're almost playing in a half, because like yesterday, apart from the save that Meslier made, they didn't really have much, and we defended extremely well. I made the start at the beginning of the stream: 12 games, 3 goals conceded, not a single goal conceded from open play in 2024, and in that run, Joe Rodon and Ampadu together as a centre back pairing have not conceded a single goal from open play as a centre back partnership. It's insane. That is an insane statistic from the games that we've had. Bear in mind, we've played Leicester in that time as well. We've played some good teams. It's not just all been cannon fodder, has it? So, the first half had concerning moments, but I just think it's the way that these games are going to go. Sheffield Wednesday are flying, 4 wins on the spin. Opportunity to come out of the bottom 3 yesterday with a point. They've got Ugbo up front, who they signed on loan in January, who scored 8 goals in the last 6, I think it was, or something like that. They've got Danny Rolls. The two form teams in the division, second versus third in terms of the form table yesterday. And Danny Rolls, since he's come in, if you just take his games in charge, they'd be 8th. That's a serious team. So I just think while you're having them moments, especially away from home, you just got to make sure that you're defending well, which is what we're doing. And we did that while not playing particularly well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's phenomenal to see, especially for a team that was horrendous defensively for a good 2 seasons as well. You mentioned the centre back pairing there, Joe Rodon and Ethan Ampadu. I mean, for me, Ampadu, I mean, he's just class. I mean, he's been an unbelievable signing for the money that we paid for him. I mean, you're getting a leader, but you're getting a good footballer. You're getting, I mean, it's just a full package with him. The fact that, you know, we thought he was going to be the DM, we thought he was going to be that central midfielder, you know, protecting the back four, and then he's moved into the back four because, you know, obviously injuries to Strike, and obviously Grove's emergence, and he's just as effective. And I felt he was just driving us in that first half. I really felt like he got it by the scruff of the neck, because I think other players were kind of, I don't know, maybe not having the best of nights at that time, but he had that intensity and he didn't make a mistake.
He was excellent, mate. I mean, I called it during the game, and then he got the man of the match, which he absolutely was. Yeah. He was excellent. Defensively, he was fantastic. Stepping in at the right times, backing off at the right times, strong in the air, dominant. The clearance off the line in the second half was key, because then that takes the game to 2-1 and it changes the dynamic. I thought it was absolutely. He's a leader. He's so comfortable on both feet. And what he did extremely well yesterday was, towards the back end of the first half, was starting to pick the ball up and drive the ball out of the back line, creating them overloads in the middle of the pitch. And he was taking responsibility for Gruev and Kamara, who were struggling a little bit. And he was like, "Don't worry about it, lads. I know that you're not feeling it right this second. I've got you. Like, I'm here for you." You know, the moment with Meslier, when he cleared it off the line. Ilan, you've made, you know, I saw Ilan's reaction to him. Yeah. You know, you bail me out there, mate. And he's like, "I got you, mate. I'm here for you." You know, Joe Rodon, he puts his body on the line every single time. Every single game he's there, you know, committed. Them two together are a fantastic Championship centre-back pairing. The signing of Ampadu, for me, I think is a signing of the season in the Championship. I think he's without a doubt our signing of the season, given what he's given to us. You know, we have more flair, character players, more exciting players within the squad. But what he gives this squad, he's just, it's so understated, I think, maybe even underappreciated. And I think if Chelsea were to have known what was going to go on over this 7 months, they would have him in their squad right now. 100%. I think he's that good.
Well, when he played against Chelsea the other week, he was bossing it. He looked absolutely on that level, certainly. We've got some stats there from LUFC data for Ampadu as well.
I know, I mean, some of them are just, they're just insane, aren't they? I mean, I know you called for him back in the midfield before the game, and I know a lot of fans are calling for him back in. I personally think this run has been built on unbelievable defensive record and solidity. And for me, Pascal's going to have been out maybe 3-4 months by the time he comes back. Do you really want to bring him back in for the final 9 games? Try and get him up to speed? I won't have him anywhere near the starting 11 unless there were injuries. This is exactly the team that we play back four wise. We can talk about Archie and Connor Roberts, but certainly that back two pairing, that is it for the rest of this season.
Yeah,
regardless.
I think that's certainly cemented. And when you look at the run and everything, absolutely. Some comments here, James. Ampadu was a man on a mission yesterday. Yeah, absolutely. Amps was immense. Enzio, was funny to see how excited Ampadu was pre-winning the man of the match. Forget how young he is, only 23, but that was great. Amps and Roland have been brilliant. I mean, it's
so hard to believe he's only 23, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, he's been around forever because he made his debut at 15 and then signed for Chelsea at 16. And I think because of his look, you know, when he first came through with the big dreads, I think he's really memorable, Ampadu. Like, obviously, story coming through at 15 helps it. But I think he stands out in most football fans' memories because of the way that he used to look. So we all know that he's been around forever, and he's 23. He's crazy that he's only 23. I mean, for me, he'll probably go on to be Wales' all-time record appearance maker. I mean, I think he's already made 55 first-team appearances for Wales at 23. If you don't get any injuries, he'll play until he's 35, 36.
Yeah.
You know, like, unbelievable player. Just 7 million quid, man. It's just ridiculous.
It's crazy. Mark does raise this. Farkas said that Struijk is the cornerstone. He wants him back in centre half with Ampadu back in midfield. Well, yeah, but would you, like Jez says, would you really want to risk breaking up this defensive unit that's an absolute beast, as Jason said, has only conceded 3 goals?
What Farkas says and what he does are 2 different things.
Yeah.
He wants to keep, obviously, Struijk feeling confident, working to get back and whatnot, and I get that. And when we, hopefully go to the Premier League, then let's revisit that conversation then, because I don't think I would want Ampadu as our centre-back then. That's a different conversation. We're not in the Premier League, we're in the Championship. And because, I said this when we first put Ampadu into the back line, because we dominate the ball so often, we can kind of forsake a little bit of defensive quality, somebody that can still defend extremely well, but a little bit of defensive quality, which I would say Pascal has over Ethan. But Ampadu has so much more bringing it out of the back line. He's so technically good at bringing the ball out, driving the ball out. His distribution's better than Pascal's. Also, it basically makes us have another midfielder.
Yeah, it does.
I just think for me, that wouldn't be something I'd be changing for the rest of the season.
No, absolutely not. And with Ampadu as well, you're looking at someone potentially, if it all goes well for his career at Leeds, and if, let's be honest, if Leeds are able to get in the Premier League and sustain that level and grow, we could be talking about a guy who could make a couple hundred appearances for us, 250 appearances. He could be, captain for several years for us. Once Coops leads, I mean, this is a tremendous player that hopefully, we're in a situation where we're both kind of rising up together.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think that's why he signed such a long deal when he came here. I think he saw a potential to put down some roots, and he absolutely lives and breathes it every second he's on that pitch. I remember I've just seen Lewis's comment pop up, and I remember us chatting about Ampadu beforehand, because I think he's got a little bit of a bad press. I remember us talking about it in the group, and it not being a real exciting signing for a lot. And I always thought it were a top signing. I mean, it's proven to be some signing, hasn't it? It really has.
Well, because you heard the last 3 teams he played at had been relegated. Obviously, it was like this hot prospect a few years ago, and all this kind of thing. You wonder, is it one of those players that just never kind of steps up to the requisite level? But he's got a permanent club now in Leeds United. He's 100%. Got the captain's armband. It's all there for him, isn't it, really? And he's got, he's absolutely got the ability. I mean, what I love about Ampadu as well is that sharpness he's got. Against Chelsea, it was similar, where he was the one who looked that quality.
He's Premier League all over, mate. He's Premier League all over. I mean, I think he would easily slot in at DM, maybe even at centre-back for most of the bottom half. Genuinely. I think he'd go to Chelsea right now and start games. I think he's that good. And, we've got him at the top of the Championship. It's crazy. Crazy.
I mean, that recruitment alone is just... I mean, if you find a better piece of recruitment in football, then I'll be amazed, really. It was just...
I'd be stunned if he didn't turn down Premier League offers to come to us. I'd be stunned. I'm sure the way that their conversation went, maybe he was getting offered 2 years or 3 years at a Luton or a Burnley or a Sheffield, but I'd be stunned if one of them teams didn't want him. And I think the conversations probably will have been a case of, look, I know you're stepping down to the Championship, but here's a big deal. You're going to be our main man. You're going to be our guy. Come and get proper home, and we're going for the Premier League. This is what the future looks like, and I think there has to have been a project sold to him, because I can't believe that a Premier League club wouldn't have, not at £7 million. No. Why wouldn't he have taken the chance? I don't get it, but anyway,
I don't. Is this man up to the Premier League? Do we think when if we get back Elan Meslier so far? I mean, the stats say it all. Again, vital save last night. Probably someone who certainly splits the fan base more than an Ethan Ampadu does. Is it time to start thinking generally in the fan base that he's got it back and he is our future number one? I mean, what's your thoughts with Meslier, do you think?
The thing is, I go back and forward with Meslier. I am a bit flip-floppy in my opinions, because I think on one hand, ultimately, he became a bit of a polo. He became a bit of a hologram in the Premier League. He wasn't saving anything. But then I also do defend him, because he had such a terrible defence in front of him. He was facing, 10, 15, 20 shots on target a game. It was ridiculous. And not just shots from outside the box. There were 1xG chances from 6 yards, 10 yards out. And I remember that keeper that played the first season that we went up and the season that we got promoted from the Championship. I mean, especially the first Premier League season, he looked elite. I mean, I was saying this guy's going to be France's number one. He's going to be, you know, a major goalkeeper. At 20-year-old, he were, you know, it was class. He really, really was. He was a top keeper, but then he regressed. But you know what? I blame the club for it. Yeah. I blame the club for the regressing of Meslier. You know, after Bielsa, the goalkeeper coaching, Jesse Marsh, and everything else that came with it. You know, he should have been taken out of the firing line a little bit earlier for Robles in that season. It was just a lot, and he's rebuilding. Will he ever be our Premier League number one? I think he'll start as our Premier League number one if we go up this season. It's hard to answer the question because we don't know until he's going to start facing more shots and more difficult opponents on the regular. But last night, again, he showed that he's capable of helping us win games, you know, and he has shown it recently. There was a big save where he played brilliantly against Leicester. And did he make a really good save against Town as well? I think it was. I think he's still a top Championship goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I would like to see a more competitive backup come in the summer that really pushes him for his position, that he can be brought out of the team if he's having 2 or 3 bad games.
That's the thing, isn't it? Well, yeah, it's like Mark says here, you know, we need more than Darlow to push him. It's one of those things though with you know, FFP, PNS, whatever you want to call it, where there's going to be some tough decisions in the summer because you're kind of thinking, well, if we can get away with not having to do an upgrade here, let's not do it because it's such a tight line to walk, isn't it? With that,
yeah.
You know, if Meslier can grow into it. I mean, you look at someone like, you know, the Liverpool keeper playing at the moment. You know, someone like Keller, and you know, but it's a huge fee. You know, Liverpool want 30 million or something for him, and it's like, can you do it? You know,
first team keepers don't just grow on trees; they're extremely rare. So you end up paying an absolute fortune for them. That's why Liverpool paid all that they did for Alisson, and City pay all that they did for Edison. Yeah, these keepers are very, very few and far between, but it does put us in a good position when it comes to Meslier, because I do think there'll be some top clubs that still see Meslier as being a future, you know, 70, 80 million pound goalkeeper. Bear in mind, he's still so young. He's still, what, 22, 23? Yeah. So there's a lot of time on his hands. Goalkeepers don't hit their peak until 30, 31. Yeah. So he's got a lot of time on his hands. I don't want to flip-flap between comments, but I'd just be interested to go back to John's at some point. The one above that one, but let's just finish on Meslier for now.
Well, yeah, definitely. James, I think we should sign a top keeper and let Meslier learn from him and improve, getting him ready for the Prem. And Enzio, the first save off his leg was so important and such a crucial time. I don't think his Premier League quality, unfortunately, mainly due to the presence and handling for me. Hope it works out for him. Yeah, I'm always edgy on corners. With Meslier a little bit, you know, where you see him kind of dancing on the line and going back and forth. Although I think there's maybe been a slight improvement with that lately. I had a flap the other night against Stoke, but it's going to be an interesting one. That
I think what's underappreciated as well. I said this at the Stoke game the other day, that he spends a lot of the time with the ball at his feet. And his distribution has got better as the season's gone on, and you can say what you want about his distribution, but having the confidence to do them little touches that he do, because that's instructional. That's not Meslier that's choosing to do that. Daniel Farke has trusted him to do that, and he waits. And I'm stunned that he's not made a misplaced pass that's led to us conceding directly. Every pass that he makes out of that back line to Rodon, Ampadu, the right back, the left back, it gets there. It's not getting intercepted. And that's quite a big responsibility, because behind Meslier, he's got no protection. If he makes a mistake like Ampadu might do at some point, or Rodon might do at some point, or Archie or Firpo, they've got players behind him that can bail him out. Meslier doesn't have anyone. So I think a lot needs to be kind of put to that, because the game has moved on. It's not just about stopping shots.
No, it's not.
So,
no, absolutely. I mean, you almost.
Oh, I don't know what we almost chat. Brownie? Oh,
Well,
he's back. He's back. I don't know what we almost, but go on, tell us.
Yeah, no, I was going to say with when Allardyce dropped like Melier straight away last season, he's not a Allardyce type keeper at all. No. Whereas Gracia was keeping him in. Second half, then Jayson, last night you could see almost the goal at the end of the first half. It breathed confidence into the performance, and I felt Rutter came alive. Somerville, and then Nonto obviously with a brilliant finish. That's the positive with Nonto, isn't it? He's a good finisher, isn't he? At times like that. I mean, that was a cracking goal from Nonto, and we could have had more goals, really, couldn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. I like what we've done in terms of varying up the way that we play. Downs made a comment last night in the group. Well, like, why are you hoofing it? And it's like, you know what? Earlier on in the season, we didn't do enough of that. Yeah. Because what it does, especially against these low blocks, is it turns the defence and it starts them being stretched. It opens up the pitch. And what we're really good at is following up the second balls. So when it comes off, Pat, we then pick up possession much higher up the pitch. We don't do it all the time. We then go back to knocking it side to side and build up a little bit slower again. But it's nice to have that variation in play because it keeps the defenders guessing. Yeah, so, yeah, I thought, again, I think it was Ampadu to Pat's flick around the corner to Gio first time in a non-home, and it was a beautiful goal. Not every goal needs to be tick-a-tacker, bloody knock it around, 50 passes. That makes me sound a little bit like Allardyce, speaking of Allardyce. It's true. Like there's all sorts of different ways to score goals, and I was really impressed with that second goal yesterday. And the chance after that. I mean, James Beadle makes a fantastic save. Yeah, I know Somerville maybe should do better, but because of the body shape of Somerville, it makes sense that he goes to that corner. And Beadle were down so quick. I thought, I mean, he's some keeper, Speaking of goalkeepers, 19-year-old is coming into the Sheffield Wednesday team after being out on loan at Oxford, I think it was. Really and I thought it was really good yesterday. There were two saves that he made that I thought were top. The one from Somerville and the one from Roberts, which he tipped round his right-hand post. I thought it was really good yesterday. But yeah, we started to then build in and create chances. And we then left them with the ball, sat a bit deeper, waited for them counters that we like to hit teams with. And for me, it never felt like we were going to concede second half. Never once did it feel like we were going to. I know Ampadu cleared one off the line. Maybe that side. Melier made a bit of a hash with that. It bounces just in front of him, doesn't it? And he kind of flapped at it a bit. But I mean, what more could we want from that second half? It was a nice.
Maybe make the subs a bit earlier. I would have liked to seen a couple of subs a little bit earlier.
Seem to say that every bloody week, though, Browney.
Yeah, we've been saying it all season, haven't we? Yeah.
unless we're 2-0 down away at Norwich, and then we make 3 subs after about 55 minutes. We just get used to seeing them in about 80th minute, don't we? I think the thing that we sometimes need to kind of remember as fans is that this game is 90 minutes and games can change in a second. Yeah. So, when we're 2-0 up and the 80th minute comes and we haven't made a change yet, but then we look to the bench and we bring on Dan James, Matteo Joseph and whoever else with Connor Roberts we brought on doing it at the same time. Can you imagine the opposition at that moment, like looking over and be like, are you joking? I got to put with them now, a fresh Dan James.
Oh my God.
So,
Speedy Gonzalez coming on, Jesus.
Any impetus that Sheffield Wednesday might have about getting back into the game, they think, oh my God, no, like I'm going to have to chase him now. So it's bigger than just 65 minutes, I'll make us up. Like, because I'm guilty of that when I play Football Manager. 60th minute comes, I think, well, substitute time. But the real game works a little bit differently, doesn't it? So I you know what, when it's working, let's just say Daniel Farker's right.
How long did those subs take to come up? That substitution break was about 4 minutes. I was like, what is going on? Jesus. Enzio, much better second half, more tempo and urgency, seemed to gain confidence from Paddy's goal. Agreed, really like mixing up the play so not as predictable. Turning their back line around was good. Now, this is kind of leading me on to something that I saw was raised in the week by Connor over on the One Leeds fan channel, excellent Leeds fan channel. And I'd be interested to get your take on this, Jayson, actually, because he says, I've been banging on about this all season, but Leeds have one of the lowest switch of players in the league. Under Bielsa, we had the highest. It feels with the quality we have, isolating fullbacks 1-versus-1 quickly is a guaranteed marker of success. Slow build-up at the moment. I mean, you can't really argue with the results, can you? But
last night that comment was in my head when it was particularly quite slow, although they did end up knocking a couple of balls over that led to a couple of good opportunities. But what do you think of that? What's your kind of take on that?
I just think it's a very different style of play to Bielsa's style of play. You know, Bielsa's style of play depended on Calvin sitting in the 4 role and spraying them passes, isolating full-backs and getting the wing-backs outside. But then it also, if you remember, again, it's easy to forget this, but we then were most exposed in the full-back areas. The amount of times that teams would break on us and counter on us down the wings, and you'd see Luke Ayling or Alioski like desperately trying to get back. Like every tactic has a counter or a negative, you know, to it. So I hear it, but that's not the style of play that we're playing. And sometimes it would be nice to do that. You know, the goal from against Stoke came from them positions, if I remember rightly. Connor Roberts, was it that one or was it the Huddersfield goal? Connor Roberts cross for Pat, came down the right hand side. I think it depends on who you've got there, because the problem with playing Archie there is that Archie doesn't create that width. He naturally gravitates inside, because he's a midfielder. Firpo does it a lot on the other side. We see Firpo breaking down that outside a lot. The problem is that we're often facing low blocks who then kind of cut off them areas of the pitch. So it becomes difficult. You know, Gruev can certainly spray them balls to the wingers, and I would say that you know, Ampadu can obviously do that as well. But we haven't got them. Like Jack Harrison used to really like getting to the byline. You know, we had Helder Costa who did exactly the same back in the Championship as well. I don't know if we really have that type of winger. Somerville, Nonto, they both like coming inside. Gio likes driving inside as well. Dan James arguably could do that, but we've seen with Dan James that his best deliveries are from when he's actually delivers it about 4 yards off the edge of the box from a bit deeper and plays and floated crosses in. He's not actually that great at driving to the byline and crossing the ball in. So I just think it's a different style of play. I don't really get too up on the fact that we don't do that, and we should start doing more of it personally.
Enzio, I was just going to come on to this actually. I think Cree must be struggling for 100% fitness and form. Maybe having Dan on the right and Nonto on the left with Cree coming on might help him recover. Cree still important for us to show. What I would say about Somerville last night, I thought he worked his bollocks off all game. I thought I don't think it quite happened for him. I think his chance, it was a brilliant save by the keeper, but I think Somerville earlier in the season just slots at the other side of the net, and he seems to have just kind of it's not quite happening in front of goal for him like it was Cree Somerville. I wouldn't be against kind of seeing him maybe have a game out, you know, if, like we said before, if he's not training properly through the week, etc. I mean, obviously he's got a nice break now up until the Millwall game. It's still hugely important, but I would be interested to see maybe Nonto on the left and James on the right.
It's something I called for midweek, that given the 3 games, I thought it might have made sense to play Nonto on the left and James on the right last night. But Cree's just so good. And he's so, again, he scares defenders to death that if he is at all possible to play, you kind of keep on wheeling him out. It's a bit like Gio. I think now we're over the worst of the run of games. This backlog of games now, that's it. We've got 9 days until the Millwall game on the Sunday. That's at home. I would expect that you'll see the very strongest team that we've got. I don't think there'll be anybody resting. Then we've got an international break. So I think the time for the potential for that to happen has now gone, and we've come through with 34 out of 36 points. So we just have to sit there, fair play. But I definitely think, coming back to Enzio's comment, that he has been struggling. He has been struggling with an injury.
Yeah, it's not looked quite as same flow as he was in earlier.
Then for Rutter, I think Rutter's exactly the same. And I would put Gruev in that category too. I think Gruev since been out of the Chelsea game. He was out of the Chelsea game, and we know that he was injured that week, and then running into the Town game. He was definitely injured. Then he got kicked all over the place for 45 minutes in the Town game. So I don't think he's been quite the same either. But hopefully we should see the best version of him come Sunday now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the great thing now, isn't it? They've got a nice little break. If you're Farkery, thinking you probably ease it up next couple of days and then wind it up again towards the back end of next week and let them go at it.
I'd imagine that the boys will get the full weekend off, to be honest. Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Go and enjoy yourself, lads. See you back Monday. And then they gear up for a big game next Sunday. At home, I don't worry about any game that we're going to, but Millwall will be tricky. The back under Neil Harris, who was previously their manager, gets them, knows them, played for them, managed them before, knows everything about them, and I think it'll be tricky early. And I think, again, it'll follow a similar pattern to the Stoke game, that we should have too much quality and we'll build in fresh, hopefully. Then, carrying no injuries, we can win that one quite comfortably, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so where did that leave Leeds United then after last night's win? Well, let's have a look. Good reading for Leeds fans. Second place, back up to second, 79 points. 11 games won at 12. The goals conceded. The goal difference, staggering, really. Putting the pressure right on the other boys there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
I just wanted to say, before we got too far into the table conversation, I read the other day that this 35 games which Southampton are on, no team has ever not been promoted with that amount of points.
Yeah.
I then read again last night before going into the game that with what was it now? With 24 wins that we're now on, no team has ever not. 10 teams out of the last 19 have won the league, and no team has ever not finished in the top 2. And we're 1 point clear of Ipswich, and we've played a game more. It's just crazy. Them 4 teams, all 4 of them should get promoted, and we should just bring down the bottom 4. That's what
get rid of Everton, get rid of Forest, and then absolutely. We'll let Luton have another go, so that at least giving it a chance. Do you know what I mean? But I mean it is staggering. Ipswich, obviously, they've bounced back massively. From there, I mean, what are they up to now? 6 wins on the trot or something?
I don't think 5 or 6. I can't remember. No, I think it's 6 actually.
Yeah, they're kicking off in about 35 minutes against Cardiff away from home. Cardiff have won their last 3, but it's Ipswich, and I just, I mean, their ability to defy the odds is something else, isn't it? You can't even really make predictions, can you? Because it's just so bonkers. The tough one, I think, though, is Leicester going to Hull. I was actually trying to.
Hull have not won in the last 3. They're on bad form as well now. So
so they've got away with it. Leicester there, haven't they? If they've been playing Hull a few weeks ago, it might have been a bit more of a challenge. But
you know what, Brownie, right? Them other 3 teams will be saying the same about us. They'll be like, Ipswich will be like, God, we've turned this corner, we've won 6 in a row, and Leeds just keep winning. There's 34 points out of 36.
Well, they're trying to do their no pressure on them.
No pressure,
League One last year, so no pressure.
You know what? I think that's utter balls. At this stage of the season, you are now fully in this promotion run. If anything, it puts more pressure on you because you're going to be like, we were League One last season. This is where we're now at. We don't want to blow this opportunity.
They might never get. They might not get this opportunity again for the next 10 years because
look at the quality that'll be coming down and just how
players
it works. Got to take opportunities.
100%. And players like Sam Morsey, they're never going to play Premier League football again without this opportunity with Ipswich. Very similar to when Leeds got promoted. The likes of Luke Hale and Liam Cooper, they don't ever play Premier League football without that perfectly made situation. So the pressure starts to ramp up. We've won more games than them. As the table there shows, I know they've played a game less, but they will be looking at us and saying the exact same thing that we're saying about them. I think Leicester are going to be like this. I think that their sphincters are going to be seriously tested because they're not playing well, and they've lost 3 of the last 4. They managed to come back with a win away at Sunderland, who have now lost 5 in a row. So I don't know if that even says anything. they've got a serious test today, acid test to see if they can come back. Because if they do lose today and Ipswich win, they'll lose top spot. Imagine the psychology around that. And even if Ipswich do drop points and Leicester drop points, we're now within touching distance. This is the closest we've been all season. You know,
it's
so
just bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nuts. And Southampton, you know, they've had it even stoked even more now because of the game getting suspended postponed the other day because of the fire outside St Mary's. They're now in a position where before they play us, they're likely to have a game that midweek, which no other team's going to have. So it really, really sets the cat amongst the pigeons. I would much prefer to be in our shoes. I was looking at our fixtures last night, and with the exception of Hull at home, and again at home, I don't worry. Yeah. I expect us to win every single game. I look
We're
at
capable, aren't we?
Yeah, and Danny Farkle getting interviewed at Thorpe Arch the other day as well. And, you know, one of the seasons that he took Norwich up, they won the last 10 straight and were undefeated in 22. So if you look at kind of our run now, if we were to go undefeated for the next 9, it'll be a similar kind of situation. Why can't we do it? We're miles better than all of them, Brownlee.
Yeah, exactly.
This is mad as well that James has just said. How have Ipswich only lost 4 and we beat them twice?
Crazy, isn't it?
That's mad. They've lost 2 other games against other teams. I mean, it's just wild. Absolutely wild.
I can't believe they've only lost 4 games, but conceded 47 goals.
I know.
47 goals conceded. Right? I mean, a lot of them were against us, but still.
Yeah. I mean, how many 3-2s have they had, though? I mean, it's been bonkers, hasn't it? How many 3-2s and 4-3s and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it could be a very, very good weekend, Jason, if we can maybe, hopefully, stay in second. That'd be lovely. And maybe if Leicester don't get a win, I mean, it's wild that we're even thinking about the title.
I want to win the league. I want to win the league, mate.
I do now. Yeah, come on,
let's do it. I'm in that kind of mindset that I want to win the league. Enzio just made a really good comment there about QPR away is never easy. It's the same as last night. It's the same as Town away for me. QPR is the place that we've never particularly gone well to, but it's not the same teams. It's not the same seasons. No. It'll be another acid test where they will put us under a bit of pressure that we'll need to come through and win the game for me.
Yeah, absolutely. John, perfect scenario will be us as champions, Ipswich second, Norwich win the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy with that. I really would if we went up with Ipswich, because I think it's a fantastic story. And look, if I wasn't a Leeds fan, would I like the idea of the 3 teams that got relegated going straight back up? Absolutely not, because that's worrying for the competitiveness of the leagues. You know, we don't like that, but it's Leeds. And I think for us, when you're looking at, also there was a great point made out on Twitter, you're looking at what's happened with Everton, Nottingham Forest and Leicester with the FFP stuff.
Yeah.
These were teams in direct competition with Leeds last season who basically have all cheated to stay up, you could argue. And Leeds have been punished and got relegated. So for me, I don't have any guilt about, we were in the Premier League and going back up. Couldn't care less.
No, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, Brandon. And I also don't subscribe to this idea of it's not fair to do points deductions for these teams. What a load of crap. You know, like, what a load of rubbish that is. The facts are is that this form of cheating directly affects the points that you get on the pitch. Sure, the fans shouldn't be punished for that, but that's it's part of the business. You know, the business of being a successful football club is to get points on the board to finish as high in the table as you can. So what a load of crap. I mean, as a Leeds fan, I've sat here and, you know, we've been deducted 15 points on 2 occasions, Championship season and League One season. We started the season with a -15 deficit. We'd have gone up that season. If it hadn't been for the points deduction, would have finished second behind Norwich that season. So don't come at me and say that we shouldn't be given 6 points because we've financially cheated. No, my club was in such dire straits. We were in administration nearly going bust.
Yeah.
And we got deducted 15 points. Like, get a grip. Get a grip, yourself. Some of these clubs are so entitled. Some of these fans are so entitled, honestly. And they're lucky that they're not being punished. They're being punished retrospectively. So they're being punished in the season after. So like Leicester, they're lucky they're not getting a punishment in the FL, because if they were, they might not go up this season. They probably still will. Their punishment will happen next season if they go up. I mean, and Everton getting punished this season when the damage was done retrospectively. You know what I mean? He's crap. So
absolutely is, and this is where, as a Leeds fan as well, and how we got absolutely hammered by points deductions and all kinds of stuff. I have absolutely zero sympathy, and for me, to be honest, I'm looking at it as well. I tweeted to effect earlier in the week. I said, look, if you're Leicester, if you go up and you start the Premier League season -6, -8, -10, you might as well just pack your bags for the Championship again, because Leicester are in dire straits. They're not going to be able to go up and splash the cash. They might as well take the hit this season, still be in the playoffs, and still have a good chance of going up.
Again, it's down to the FL and the Premier League not working together in it, because the penalty will be applied by the Premier League rather than the Football League. Yeah. It's a very weird kind of situation. I think Villa were the opposite way around. If they'd have gone back down the season that Goal Line Technology saved them, they'd have started the Championship season with a points deduction. But because they've never gone back to the Championship, that points deduction that would have applied can't apply. Yeah. So if ever they get relegated again, Villa, they will then serve this points deduction. It makes no sense to me.
No, exactly. I mean, I saw there's an Everton correspondent for The Athletic, and he was basically saying that Leicester should be docked points immediately, because I think his arguments are, well, Everton got docked points this season, and maybe getting docked points again. I mean, it's a mess, isn't it, though? I mean, what a mess we're talking. I mean, it's just, it's just, none of it makes sense either. You've got Newcastle who are hamstrung, being able to buy players when they're riches. They're in no financial peril, but they can't do anything. I mean, this was one of the, it just doesn't, does it? I mean, there's just got to be a better way than this.
I saw them talking about it on the fan debate on the Overlap the other day. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've not seen that. No, it's in the to watch list though, isn't it?
What you've now got is you've got a situation where they're trying to circumvent this situation by selling kids, because of the raw profit on the bill. How's that right? And how is that productive for football? Like you nurture this kid through your academy, you bring him into your first team, and then you sell him for 30 million because it's 30 million worth of raw profit rather than 60 million, which it'd actually be worth because it wasn't purchased. It's just crap. And then you got Chelsea trying to circumvent it through selling players to Saudi Arabia and contracts. And you're right. Like, for me, Newcastle, they should be able to spend whatever they want.
Yeah.
If their club and their ownership is within, it's coming out of their money and it's not putting the club in financial jeopardy, should they then just decide to sell the business? So maybe wage budgets, things like that, things that people way cleverer than me can decide on. But if their owner wants to invest in his business, he should be able to. If I bought a sandwich shop round the corner and I'm the owner of that sandwich shop, I shouldn't be told that I can't put money into my business. And the same goes for this in football. All they're trying to do is just separate out the ones that have the most revenue and keep them at the top. That's all they're trying to do. They're trying to create a Super League within the Premier League. And it's just crap. It's just crap because it keeps teams like Leeds from ever really being able to compete.
No, absolutely. I mean, you look at, I think Leeds were, I saw, commercial revenue, I think they were up to about 16th in all the shirt sales, wasn't it? It was like 16th in the world. Yeah. And our commercial revenue, I think it's above Newcastle's, so, but we're still going to hit that ceiling, aren't we? Even if we get back to Premier League and everything goes to plan, then you got to wait for the stadium to be upgraded. You got to wait for all these parts to fall together. Whereas, obviously, if you were Man City, Chelsea before, you got in before all this, you could pull. I mean, it's like Man City now. I know they've got these 115 charges, but is that ever going to see the light of day? They keep throwing cases at it. It keeps getting delayed. The likelihood is no. Are Chelsea going to get punished for their obscene spending that they've done? No, probably not. No. They'll get away with it. And it's that thing of now, who is going to stop Man City now? The only hope is that Pep leaves and it crumbles a bit on the pitch. It's basically because, they go out, they sign a player for 100 million every year. They take some gem from another club. They've got Vardiol from Leipzig. They've got Phillips from us. They've got Grealish from Aston Villa. For me, it just doesn't. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. You've seen about Wolves that are going to have to sell Pedro Neto. Villa are going to have to make sales. It's just obscene. I mean, it's really obscene, and it honestly pisses me off so much.
Evie sums it up perfectly there. Prem has always been a Super League in sheep's clothing. I mean, that for me kind of sums it up. It's been becoming more that and more that constantly as time's gone on. The only saving grace within football is that thankfully football's not played on paper, and you can still create circumstances and situations where clubs overachieve. Not
according to Huddersfield Town fans, because we were the dirty ones apparently.
Yeah, because we had 3 more fouls. Let's not go there. I'm over it. I don't 3 games ago. I'm over it. But yeah, I think Brighton. They're struggling a little bit this season, but they've shown that through a proper recruitment model, proper development of the youngsters, a proper style of play, that they can compete in and amongst that. You have to be smarter and shrewder with your recruitment and your development. You have to get your management decisions right. You have to have your club all pulling in the same direction. And there is ways to still kind of work around it, but you are always going to see them clubs rise to the top. And the rules stop clubs coming in with other investment. Like if we were to get taken over by the Saudis tomorrow, you'd see an initial injection, but then they would be eventually hamstrung. I mean, we've got massive owners. Speaking of, never mind the Saudis, the 49ers have got huge money. They could go up to the Premier League and inject X amount of cash that would make us competitive within the top 7 within 2 seasons. But they wouldn't be able to because of the rules. And that's to keep them select ones that are up there, usually American ownership or Saudi ownership, keep them in their own league, because they don't want to survive without the Champions League money because of the share prices. It's rubbish when we're talking about this on debating football, but anyway, maybe
it feels like it's a dominating thing, though, isn't it? It's like it is
certainly in the Premier League. It is certainly in the Premier League. It is.
Just a couple of comments to get to before we do get back to the football, but Evie as well. Leicester could be in serious financial trouble bordering on a Derby scenario. They borrowed from the Premier League money from the 24-25 season. If they don't go up, they're screwed. And now, is this true? Leicester signed Winks on 90,000 a week at the beginning of the season. Total disrespect for the rules. Is that true?
I would imagine that's probably right.
Harry Winks on 90 grand.
Yeah, Jesus. I don't even think he's that good, mate.
No, and John, 105 million loss over 3 years. Is a Chelsea player. This loss needs to be big as it hasn't changed forever. Yeah, so look, let's get back there first before we worry about it.
Just before we move back on to Leeds, Chelsea are a great example though of how it's not. You can't just buy your way out of trouble. Like Chelsea's recruitment has been horrific. And it might come back around that it ends up being good recruitment in the long run. But right now, it's a perfect example of the fact that you can throw whatever cash you want at it. If you're not thinking about it with some strategy, then it doesn't matter. Like X amount, 80 million here, 100 million there, Mudryk, Caicedo, some of these players, like the top talent, but it's been done with no thought.
Well, this is one thing that I worried about. Are the 49ers, if a huge offer comes in for Archie Gray, are they looking at the fact that, it's pure profit, as they call it, and it could really be then reinvested, across multiple positions? I mean, that is probably a conversation that we'll have, because why wouldn't you when, these top teams are doing that for that exact reason? So
I definitely think it's a concern, but I think thankfully one thing that we can credit Rads for was he was fairly shrewd in the way that he spent. The net spend was always around level, very similar to what the Geordies have had to deal with Mike Ashley. They can say what they want about Mike Ashley, but Mike Ashley always ran the club and it protected this situation that we're seeing at Forest and Leicester and Everton. Everton's recruitment's another great example of how poor you can do it. I mean, they've spent money. They've spent a lot of money, but they've just spent it so badly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Important point here from Paul. So if we spend on infrastructure and stadium and increase profits, we will be able to complete. FFP does not apply to infrastructure. And Yeboah, you have to have a good youth setup to be able to compete. Now, if you sell a youth player, you get more towards FFP. And as we've kind of summed up there, selling academy players seems to be the easy way out of P&P. It absolutely does. I mean, developing players over, from the age of 6 and then never seeing them make the light of day for your club, it's just absolutely bananas to me. Okay, getting back to the football, then we do have a suggestion here from Lewis. You guys should see if any contributors from Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich after the international break in your reviews ahead of the final run. That could be tasty. Oof. Well, yeah, we'll see, won't we? We'll see. We'll see. Maybe it could be nice. It could be tasty, yeah. But yeah, back to the football then, Jason. It's how many games to go now?
We've 9 to go, mate.
9 games to go. I mean, it's really getting there now, isn't it? You know, we're hopefully
it's only 9 to go. No, we don't need more playoffs.
Oh, please, yeah, please. Hopefully, it's only 9 to go. I'm at the Millwall game next week, so I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. Are you out and about any games today, then, Jason?
I am. I'm going over to Pontefract Collieries versus Bridlington Town. That's my destination today. So I've got a bit of a trip over to Wakefield to watch that. Yeah, hopefully catch a few potentials. I'll be starting my role for Leeds soon as well, which is good. I've just got all the paperwork back and stuff, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks I can get out on some Leeds duty, which will be nice.
Amazing, absolutely. So you'll be back up at Thorpe Arch then?
Yeah, a bit here and there, but more out watching the grassroots stuff.
Very good. Exciting times. Quick word on the Joshua Ngannou fight as well, Jason, that we watched last night. And
I told you
resounding, wasn't it? Yeah, resounding win for Joshua there.
Yeah, it's exactly what Fury should have done to him, to be honest. It's a novice boxer against a world champion heavyweight. Like it's it's exactly what it should have always been. I thought AJ dealt with it perfectly. You could see that he was working Ngannou's range out perfectly, walked him onto the right hand when he switched to southpaw, then walked him onto the right hand again. Perfect shot. And I mean, AJ showed himself to have, I mean, we always knew he had serious power, but Ngannou never really been hurt. Had always been understood in UFC to even, to have a granite chin. You got 4-ounce gloves on in UFC. When you get caught by a shot in UFC, it's bare fist, whereas he's got 10s, probably, or 8-ounce gloves on in a boxing ring. And AJ absolutely flattened him. Completely blown the heavyweight division back open again. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Hopefully we get the Fury Usyk fight to go ahead. And then we can have the winner of that versus AJ.
Yeah, that'll be exciting, won't it? Yeah. Good stuff. Just finally here, John asks, how many points did you see Leeds getting out of the last 27 available? He said 4 games ago we could drop 5 points, a draw and a loss. What do you reckon? I mean, the problem is it's skewed by how well those top 4 teams are doing, isn't it? Because you'd say just get 27, please.
The problem is I go into every game genuinely believing we're going to win every single game, but that is unrealistic. I mean, we're 12 undefeated. Is it unlikely that we don't take a single loss between now and the end of the season? Yeah, but when I then think of each of the games individually, I think we should win this. We should win this. We should win this. So I would probably look. I think we'll go undefeated at home all season. I do. I know the Hull is a banana skin, but I think worse we maybe drop a couple of points there. Coventry away, they're going to be fighting for playoffs. I could see that being a real scary game. But you know what? There's several games where teams have got a lot to play for. Southampton at home, last game of the season. Yeah. That could be really interesting. Are they still in the race for the top 2 at that point? If they are, who knows? We could go into a situation last game of the season where all 4 could go up automatically. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but Jesus, it could be. But to answer the question, because I'm skirting around and getting splinters, I would say I think we get 24. I think we take 1 loss. Yeah. 1 loss, 8 wins.
I'd probably take that. I think I'd take that, and hopefully that'll be enough to get us over the line.
Maybe 22.
Maybe 22. It will be lovely to finish up the weekend, wouldn't it, in that 2nd place? But we'll wait and see. Good stuff. All right, I want to thank everyone who's been watching along today. Really appreciate that. If you've not already, if you wouldn't mind just liking the video, really supports the channel. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. We'll be back Monday night for a review, not just Leeds United, but our other teams across West Yorkshire. So we look forward to that one. If you're watching this again later, get your comments in as well. We do love reading through them and responding to that as well. But yeah, not a bad night for Leeds United last night, Jason, and long may it continue, mate.
Up the whites and fingers crossed we get some results in our direction today, because I would love to go into next Sunday. Yeah. Unfortunately, we play after everybody else, but I would love to go into next Sunday thinking we're only, we can actually go in front of Leicester, or we can physically be in front of Ipswich with no games in hand and all this situation. But let's just deal with our stuff. I still believe it's in our hands. I know Ipswich have got the game in hand at the moment, but let's just look after business. Ipswich are going to drop points, concede too many goals. So it's hard. It's in us. It's in us to do it. Up the boys.
Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.